Heroes on Point. Today we're going to be talking about our good friend, the Capitalism Hero. We're going to be talking about the individual and collective in My Hero Academia by Mr. Green Exclamation Point for an avatar.
What the hell is up with anime YouTube and talking about capitalism so much?
I don't fucking know.
Well, I can think of a explanation. It's basically capitalism is the status quo, and it's fun to take down the status quo.
For millennials, at least.
Yeah.
For millennials, yeah.
I mean, there is a political stuff bit, but there is a real discussion about the limits and usefulness of capitalism in its current form.
Right. So yeah, we're gonna be watching this video. We covered part 1 where he talked about Shield Hero, and he was a little bit wrong on a few things. A couple
little
of things.
bit. I disagree with some key interpretations.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I don't even remember the first part of this. What the hell?
Basically,
it was a while ago.
He gave the argument.
I think I was there for that.
Yeah, he gave the argument for Naofumi, the Shield Hero bro, being capitalist, but
okay.
I came to more of a conclusion that he's more fits in a communist or communal hero rather than a strictly capitalist one.
Bit of column A, bit of column.
And I've came to the conclusion that the show that Rising of the Shield Hero was not at all fit to talk about that, and probably wasn't intending to talk about that.
Well, 99% of the time, these types of things are not intending to talk about that kind of shit. It's people projecting their own bullshit.
I have heard though that later in the novels, it gets rather critical of the whole. Well, basically, the whole slavery thing is a little bit a criticism of capitalism. And I heard it goes a little bit further than just slavery, therefore capitalism bad.
Slavery bad. Slavery bad. I'm crying.
Yeah.
Bad.
But I heard it goes beyond that and more directly criticizes capitalistic thought as a whole later. So it basically further invalidates his point of Naofumi being a capitalistic hero. But that is beyond the scale, the scope of the show, so I won't blame him.
Does the prose get better? Because I tried reading the first volume of that, and it was pretty bad.
It will get better.
No, I'm not saying the show. I'm saying the prose, like how it's written. It looks like really nasty to read for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, these Shield Hero and all the other kind of shows are written by amateurs. So they will always get better. Than the first thing they write will always be kind of bad, and the last thing they wrote will always be better by virtue of practice and feedback.
Don't scout on fanfiction.net, kids.
Well, now all these stories are basically written on the equivalent of fanfic.net.
Pretty much.
Case in point, we aren't even on the video yet. We're supposed to be talking about.
We're busy. We're talking
Naruto.
about. Yeah. All right. So, let's get right into it then. So, starting the video in 3, 2, 1, go.
It's not going.
It should be going.
I'm not seeing anything.
Oh, we're having technical difficulties. I hit play and it's at 10 seconds.
Alright.
Do I have to go back and do it again? Oh, are you not in the watch together?
I am.
Huh?
There's only 2 people in the watch together.
No, I'm in the watch together. I can confirm that.
No, I'm talking about Ellie. I don't think
maybe
Ellie's
I was just disconnected.
That might be. It might be because we were having internet issues before. It probably disconnected you from the watch together.
Yeah, alright. So I should be back in now.
Be sure to cut this from the video.
Nah.
It's fun.
It's fine.
It's not fun. It's not fine.
It's fine. Anyway, starting the video again in 3, 2, 1, go.
Wow, dude, this game is dope. As soon as that new Hero Aka video coming out.
Hero Aka video?
I'm a cool poster man, give me your posters! Hey, is that one of them our dating sims been hearing about?
No, you dolt! It's
Black Desert Online, the beautiful and expansive
Is
MMO.
this another
It's an
ad?
advertisement at the beginning.
Is this what capitalism means?
I think it
God,
was.
I love this. I love this shit. It's like with Mother's Basement, right? Like, he's
I'm a
such
communist.
fucking...
Give me money.
Yeah, I'm a communist. I'm so, like, not even socialist, right? Like, hardcore, fucking, totally into that commie shit, right? But I'm gonna, like, and I love the justification. I know it's a bit off topic because it's Mother's Basement talk, but his justification personally is like, oh, but I'm in the system, so I have to use the system to have the best life I could possibly have for myself and my loved ones. And I'm like, dude, dude.
Dude,
You
what
go,
about weak will shit?
you go a bit beyond that, right? Because
What is
let's
that
be real.
Weak-willed West Coast political bullshit. What the hell?
That,
you need to
like,
commit to
come
that
on.
shit. You need to go in the
Like,
woods and you
come
need to
on.
start a commune and you need to commit to that shit.
I mean, he can't be that committed because he uses plastic utensils that are shit.
Oh my god. Shut up, don't bring that up. I'll actually spurg out.
Alright,
but at least
anyway.
our hero explanation point is a true capitalist with capitalistic heroes he looks up to.
Yeah, a true bastion of the ANCAP lifestyle.
Yeah.
A true...
So
By the way,
Skip
don't play Black
forward.
Desert Online.
No, I want to see his advertisement. I want to see his shilling. I want to
alright,
criticize his shilling.
so we're
but-
going to
so
expand
is any-
his audience by 5.
All right, let's
of this
watch.
ad.
Let's watch this ad. I want to see how if he's better than Mother's Basement at shilling. So let's watch.
RPG that features 18 different playable
That's a fucking lolly.
He knows his audience.
He knows. He knows. Oh man.
Also,
I will say though, Black.
Horoscope
I will say though.
boat.
Yeah, I will say though, from like I haven't played much of Black Desert. I've heard about it, but the character creator is pretty.
We're not here to
good.
give an advertisement to Black Desert Online.
All right, I'm just gonna keep it playing, and we can talk over it.
This video is sponsored by the developers of Black Desert Online? Yes, you dolt! Everyone in their
How the
mother is
fuck did he
playing.
get a sponsorship from Black Desert Online? That's crazy to me.
If you don't want to follow the link in the description where you can get a 7-day free trial
Just
where you
lighting.
can try out the new Shy class.
Yeah, lighting. You need to work on your lighting, and your shilling's a bit bad. It's a bit too heavy, bit too
As
thick.
the new Shy class, Black Desert's first ever character class to focus on support and life skills. Throw boomerangs at ratmen. Throw boomerangs at world monsters. Throw boomerangs at ratmen who are also clowns who are also demons, all while playing an adorable anime girl in a unique real-time combat system never before seen in an MMORPG.
Well,
Black Desert
lovely.
Online.
Terra
Start your free
exists.
trial today.
Terror exists.
Okay.
While you
Don't
all were
bring up
having
terror.
fun exploring the
All right, here we go.
corners of
Now
the
we're in
Black
the
Desert
actual
with your
video.
new Shy class characters, I was getting ready for the barrage of comments I was about to face from people calling me a soulless corporate shill. Go to any other AnyTuber's comment section and you will
Ooh.
Oh, so he's aware of the fact that he is
Okay.
doing Che Guevara a grave injustice.
Okay. Let me say right now, because this is a criticism of Mother's Basement as well. Just because you're self-aware of the fact that you're a shill doesn't excuse you from being a shill, right? There are other anime YouTubers that take sponsorships. Unique Namesaurus got sponsored by some fucking VPN whatever, right? And he had a spot for some it wasn't Nord, it was some other fucking I think it was private internet access or something, right? Like, but when he did his shill, he didn't lay it on thick. He didn't do like a live action fucking bullshit with his mates and have like, oh, this is Black Desert Online and you da. Nah, he was just like, this is what it is. I've been using it. I reckon it's pretty good. I turned down an offer from another one to do these guys because these guys were better, in my opinion. And like, all of this other shit, right? Like, you like the problem isn't the fact that you're shilling something. Right? It's not the fact that you're taking a sponsorship and that you're showing. I don't think a lot of people have a problem with that. It's how you do it. Right?
And how fake.
It's the execution. Because when you're talking about stuff like Mother's Basement and stuff, the reason people go off against him is just because he's so unashamed, and he's made it his, like, persona to be the Shill King. And it doesn't excuse the fact that you're a Shill King. It's not funny.
I mean, if you just say JK at the trial, they'll totally let you off for murder.
Exactly. It's so let's see where he goes. I want to see what his actual point is here, and then we'll talk about.
See it. A veritable army of butthurt, entitled otaku slamming their oversized Cheeto-dusted fingers against the keyboard to berate their favorite creators for having the audacity to make money off their creative content. You're not a real YouTuber, they shout, sloshing the scant remains of an overturned can of Mountain Dew gamer fuel across their scantily clad anime girl mousepad. A true YouTuber makes videos...
How many minutes are being wasted on this skit to justify the fact that he's a
yeah.
shill?
Yeah, like, again, the reason people post these comments is exactly because of the shit you're doing right there. You're trying to you don't need to justify it.
No, just do it and don't give a crap.
Just do it.
I think the best time I've ever seen somebody unabashedly be a shill was, I used to watch, I forget the name of the speedrunner, but for a while he was doing, like, Iron Man runs of RuneScape, right? And, like, there were specifically people in the Twitch chat that had ad block disabled, so, like, he kind of casually slid in a Mountain Dew Baja Blast advert, like, off the cuff, and it was the cheekiest thing on earth. But he didn't bitch at people.
I don't...
I don't think he's trying to have a laugh here. I think he's genuinely upset.
Yeah, it's a very weird thing to be upset about, because even the people that do it properly are still going to get people being like, oh, you're a shill, blah. Just fucking ignore them. You got paid. You made your money.
This video is sponsored by Canada Dry Ginger Ale, which I'm drinking right now. Send me a box, please.
I mean, I'm drinking some fucking Pepsi Max Raspberry. My drink of choice for today. But no, I don't understand. Also, I don't get, like, we're a minute and 45 in, and I don't know why he's spending.
Well,
let's see how long I want to see how long he spends.
Yeah, he also did it last time with talking about how people screamed at him for why he wasn't making Hero Academia videos, and how that is a problem.
Yeah, but that's that's a bit different though, because that's him talking about his own content.
It's still whining at the audience for being an audience.
Yeah, and yeah, attacking your audience, that's a fucking great idea.
That's a cool thing to do, man.
Luckily, we don't have that.
Cool thing to...
Yeah, luckily we don't have that problem, because we don't
have an audience or advertisers. Fuck you, stop mocking me.
Yeah, it's fine. Alright, let's continue. I want to see how long he spends on this.
For the love of the craft, not for money, the world is overrun by shills and sellouts like you who make petty vids. You should all be purged, you false YouTuber. I'll make this right. These streets must run with the blood of hypocrites. YouTuber. I will reclaim that word! Come on! Just try and stop me, you fakes! There's only one man I'll let kill me. He is a true YouTuber! Digibro is worth... Oh, hi, Stain. What was I saying? Working in a public-facing career like the heroes of My Hero Academia...
Alright, so he stopped...
Now he's trying to tie it in. Okay, that was fucking gay. Don't do that.
And why attack Digi over it? Or
what? Yeah, like
Digi's audience.
Okay. The reason he does that is because Digi's very anti-shill. He's
all right.
Digi has Digi's very anti-shill to the point where he's actively like burned bridges, not just with people but with companies over it. Like he burnt a lot of bridges with Crunchyroll. Because he made a couple of videos where he was like, Crunchyroll's just fucking trash. And they need to stop because he's mentioned before that Crunchyroll has offered him like sponsorship deals and shit, and then they've just kind of stopped talking to him after he's like ripped the shit out of them. So
Miles didn't like that.
Yeah, Miles didn't like that, and also Digi's like gone on record as saying like stuff like Mother's Basement, like he hates Mother's Basement because of the shilling and the money and all that shit. Because Digi's a very much a art for the sake of art kind of dude. He's very that sort of mindset. So it makes sense that he would take a dig at Digi there. But I also that whole section I don't understand why you would do that. Like,
And I don't know why he would use just the eraser tool for cutting out all the heads of the Koopas. It's just such a waste of time.
yeah, and like,
Oh yeah, this is the person who couldn't edit videos before, alright.
right?
He
now,
couldn't
now
edit
here's-
images.
He can't edit images. Now here's the thing, right? I don't care about the ad. Like the ad I could deal with, right? But that whole bit afterwards where he's bitching, like that was just so gay. That was like, dude, seriously, what the fuck are you doing?
You make one snide self-aware joke about it and then you drop it. You don't go on for a minute and a half.
Yeah, that was way too long on that one joke. That was just fucking stupid. So let's try and move on from that, if we can even move on from that. And because now he seems to be trying to tie it into his actual point of his video. So let's see what it actually is. So let's go.
Brings with it certain complications that are difficult to work around. Does a doctor or a therapist getting paid for their work cheapen the goodwill that they have toward their patients? What responsibilities come from the influence that a professional musician has over their fan base? And does that fan base, in turn, have any responsibility to treat the musician in any particular way? As someone who has fans and who makes money and who's seen firsthand the effect that public opinion can have on mental health, I've been eager to make this video since the idea first popped into my head. The effects that living in a capitalist society has on hero work is touched on multiple times in each season of My Hero Academia, and everyone seems to have an opinion about money and the role that it plays in heroism as a career, from Mount Lady to Best Girl to the hero killer Stain. And while each character eventually has to come to their own conclusions about the relationship between hero work and material gain, those conclusions are largely positive and promote the idea that the desire to do good and the desire to get DAC currency are both compatible and mutually beneficial. Let's start with Hiroaka's most...
Alright.
It's a lot of talk.
That's his. Let's say that's the thesis. Alright.
Hero
Before he
Academia promotes the idea that just making money and being good can coexist.
Well, I don't see why you can't do both at the same time.
Yeah,
I don't see how one can't lead into the other. I mean, like, let's say for instance.
So do they actively get a bounty whenever they do hero work in the
I don't actually know if it's I don't think it's a bounty system. I think it's more along the lines of like they get paid.
Also,
I
that
think
hand
what-
is terribly
and I
edited.
think- Yeah, that
It's their
hand
day
is fucking-
job.
Yeah, and that hand is see. Okay, you're distracting me, Ali. I'm trying to make fucking points. Okay, the problem with the hand. Listen, dude. Listen. Anime characters have what we like to call outlines. You see on her neck. You see how her neck has like those black lines.
The hair.
You want to keep those.
Yeah, he cut
and the
off her hair.
Yeah. You want to keep the black lines. Because if you don't keep the black lines, it looks fucking weird, like her fingers there, right? Like look how there's black lines on the thumb and then not black lines on the finger. So if you're gonna cut something out like that, you usually do it up to the black line, not cut out the black line.
You know, the magic
Anyway.
tool, the magic selection thing
Magic
too.
wand.
Magic wand is
magic's-
very useful.
Yeah, magic wand plus lasso tool is what you use for this, right? Like, come on, dude.
And maybe
So-
even just shrink it a little bit so your selection
Well,
gets a little
being
bit
half-assed is an aesthetic, alright?
Right.
I think
Now,
that's what you're trying
back-
to tell us.
Back to what I was trying to say before you distracted me. I was mentioning that both can lead into the other, right? So let's say, for instance, you do hero work, right? That's your it's your job. And I think that the way it works is the more popular you get, it opens up opportunities for like marketing and like, you know, like sponsorships and that kind of thing, right? There was actually, I think, what's it called? Bunny something? Like, there's another show that's a hero-based show that kind of goes a bit more into this. Tiger and Bunny, I think, is what it's called.
Yeah.
I think.
I think that's correct.
Yeah, they go a bit more into this idea than Hero Arca does, where the heroes are actually legitimate. Like, they're getting sponsored by fucking Pepsi and shit. Like, it's
Well,
hardcore.
the Pepsi sponsored the show, and for the sponsoring of the show,
Yeah.
one of the heroes is sponsored by Pepsi. Some weird.
The Pepsi hero, yeah. Well, that too, but that also ties into the idea of the show, where the heroes do, like, are actually sponsored by things, right? But I think that in Hero Arca they have a similar kind of thing, because it's shown that, like, Mount Lady has, like, shampoo and shit, like, and people buy the merchandise and they buy the figures and they do, and that kind of thing, right? And that's how they make their money. So, but let's say, like, you do good things, that means that you get more popular, that means you get more opportunities to make more money, but then you get more money, and then you can use that money to do more good things, and then it becomes a cycle, right? And you get more and more and more and more and more. That is something that you can do. You can also just get the money.
Yeah, you could. You have the money. You ride your way up, your way to reach them with merchandise and stuff, and all spend it on yourself. Get some hookers. Start the drug business.
Yeah,
use your popularity to dodge any law enforcement.
Any accusations. Yeah, and but here's the thing, right? You can do both, and it's not mutually exclusive. Like, you can use the money for good, or you can use the money for evil, just like you can do good or you can do evil. It's not a all-sum kind of deal, right? If you're doing good and making money off doing good, you can also use that money to do good if you so chose, right? So the idea that these two ideas can't coexist, I think, is completely false. I think that you can.
Well, I think he agrees with that they can coexist. I think it's just maybe just more simple reading, because any job really is doing good. So how is Hero Academia then especially a capitalistic model beyond what is already in the real world? But we'll hear maybe.
Yeah. So let's see what his first point is.
Most charming and inoffensive rainbow frosted coffee cake Ochako. When pressed about what she wants out of a career as a professional hero, Ochako says in no uncertain terms that she's out to make bank. And I can already hear you typing your objections, that she's only doing it to help her family because she knows that they work hard and she really wants to help with their construction company, but her dad just wants her to follow her own dreams because he's a beautiful person. But Ochako's all perfect and she wants to make a lot of money so her parents can have an easy life, and her saying that she wants to make money is just cheap emotional manipulation to get the audience to think that she's wonderful and tough dookie, because I already
talks too fast.
Okay, talking too fast.
This guy talks way too fucking fast.
Too convoluted, I would say.
It's like listening to a 5-year-old describe their dream. It's the out of breath kind of thing. He's not pausing. You know, if you talk fast and are incomprehensible in your bullshit, it's funny, right?
Yeah. So, talking about this character, right? He's not wrong that her driving motivation is to make money to support the family because of But I'm not sure I agree with his angle of it being emotional manipulation to make the viewer sympathize, right? I feel like, going into the job to make money, and then she can follow her dream and also make money.
I mean, all storytelling is emotional manipulation.
Pretty much, yeah. So I don't see where the negative is here. Let's see if he actually makes a point.
She's wonderful and no, you're crying. But that doesn't matter. Whatever Care Bear approved reason Ochako has for wanting to accrue her cheddar isn't important, because before she can get to the part where her selfish desire to make money was actually selfless the whole time, this happens.
You want to be a hero so you can get rich?
If we're cutting to the chase, then yeah. I'm sorry if it sounds greedy. You two have such admirable motivations. I hope you don't think less of me now.
Not at all. Your goal is to support your well-being, which is a perfectly admirable ambition to have.
Without...
Okay. Let's dissect that for a minute. Firstly, fucking dub cunt.
Yeah.
Fucking god. Ow, that actually hurt. I haven't heard dubs in so many years that actually was like, oh god. Oh. I mean, I can get why he used the dub because it's easier to
Oh yeah, no, I'll give him props to that. It does actually
it's just. I mean, it's just dubs. Not a fan, but that's a personal thing. I'm not gonna knock him for that. So let's dissect the scene that we just watched, right? So we watched her recognizing the fact that it's a relatively selfish end goal, right? To get
ignoble,
rich,
even,
right? Yeah. And then we have the other character who is Speedy Boy, I don't know his actual name, but I'm going to call him Speedy Boy because that's what he does,
Hayase.
right? And his character is that he is... his character, the whole thing with him is that he is like very noble. He looks up to his brother. His brother is a very popular hero who is a very talented hero and does really good work, and he looks up to him and he wants to model his brother, right? And his whole thing is that he's very, by the book, follow the rules, do everything, right? And so he's saying, oh, well, wanting to look after yourself is not necessarily, a bad thing, right? Is what he's getting
Well, I do have this Speedy Boy immediately went for the most charitable position you could take upon hearing that. If I hear somebody from I want to have a lot of money, yeah, I could think, oh, you want to have a stable life, free of worry, etc. I can also hear, of course, I want to just get the money and fuck y'all,
yeah,
etc. That could
I
both
think
could be.
That's part of his character.
Yeah, so
he
was nice in immediately going for the most charitable option, but that didn't have to be the truth.
But I think it also could have something to do with how she recognizes the fact that it is a relatively selfish-ish goal, right? Even if it is for the end games of, I want to support the family, right? Like, it's still perceived by a lot of people, as being a pretty selfish type of thing to strive for.
Speedy Boy made excuses. That's basically it.
Yeah, but she's self-aware of the fact, right?
Yeah.
Which is interesting. That she's self-aware of the fact, rather than it being like, because Mount Lady is another character that's in it for the money, but she's very much more actually, it's more about the money than the actual, the hero stuff. So, that kind of juxtaposition of the fact that you do have characters that are in it for the money versus the character that's in it for the money but recognizes the fact that they're in it for the money and it's perceived to be a more selfish thing. To lay my cards on the table, I don't personally think it's a bad thing. I don't have an issue with selfishness. I think selfishness is fine. Self-preservation. So, yeah, I think that...
Well, let's see if he's going to bring up Mount Lady.
Yeah, and we'll see what his point is. So let's continue.
Any context at all, Ida, the character who is such a paragon of justice that his whole character arc involves him becoming less lawful good, gives Ochako the big thumbs up on taking home dat dosh. So clearly the general idea of doing hero work purely for the paycheck isn't being written off by the series itself.
I just want to reiterate what I said. He had a girl before him. He was a little bit shy and a little bit uncertain and was honest. Is he the good guy, the shining knight in motorcycle armor, going to say, I denounce you? Or is he going to be the knight and make excuses for the fair maiden?
Yeah, like I said, it wouldn't fit his character to be all like, oh, you're only in it for the money, you fucking suck. Like, it wouldn't fit.
So I don't think
right? It's more in line with his character to as you said, best interpretation, excuses, such and such, make you feel better, that
so I don't think his reaction is really the show saying to her or saying to the audience that it's fine to make money for money's sake.
Beyond that, right? So, from what I understand, in this world, I bear with me. I don't watch this garbage, but in this world, right? Being a cape shooter, that's like a job, right? That's something you do as employment. It wouldn't be unusual for somebody to be a hero in that world.
No.
For the sake of making money. I mean, it's no different than somebody somebody
Being a cop.
becoming a cop or like going in the military. No, not everybody goes in the military to defend their country. Sometimes they just need to get their student loans paid. And like, there's nothing wrong with that shit because I mean,
the tools there. Why not?
being financially secure is nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah, the tools, as much as communists would have you believe, but the tools are there, so why not use them?
Oh no,
right?
if the heroes unionize, they'll solve all the problems. Believe me.
Oh yeah, all the problems will be solved if we unionize. Totally.
Well, I was talking about the heroes. I'm not talking.
I am talking about the heroes. I'm like, oh yeah, all the heroes' problems will be solved immediately. So anyway, let's keep going.
As long as you are doing your job
away
and
with
people are
this.
getting saved, it doesn't really matter why. There are some heroes, like Death Arms and Eraserhead, who speak out against the media circus aspect of heroism, but for the most part, their criticism isn't so much anti-capitalist as it is strategic. Eraserhead, for example, comments that he doesn't even understand how All Might can do hero work with the media stepping on his cape. And during the sports festival, Death Arms makes the jaded comment that heroes have to step on top of each other if they want to put bread on the table. In both cases, their comments are based around the idea of a hero being able to do their job as effectively as possible. Being a major public figure means that everyone has a rough idea of how your quirk works, which is fine for All Might, but it would be a death sentence for someone who relies on the enemy's ignorance, like Eraserhead or Shinso. Likewise, there are any number of situations where infighting between heroes could lead to disaster for innocent victims, but neither of these critiques is directly pointed at the idea of making money for one's work. As before, so long as your desire for glory and wealth doesn't put the people you're supposed to be helping in danger, the consensus seems to be that there ain't no shame in making it rain. But
Oh my god, did you see how many images he just overlaid in that?
Um,
Holy shit.
Okay, so I'm trying to like break it down in my head, right? I'm trying to think about like, yeah, I'm trying to think about like. It feels to me like he's trying to find Freds where there aren't Freds. Like these comments from, like I don't really feel like it's meant to be this fucking massive critique of capitalism that he seems to be trying to make it out to be.
No, I don't think more capitalism. I think more. I mean, I think it's all jobs that feature part publicity and part doing action, which is maybe even politicians more than other stuff.
Politicians, actors, celebrities, all these kinds of jobs where you're in the public eye.
Yeah, everything where the media and the professional work what you do are in conflict in some way.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where he's. But anyway, let's continue.
then we get to people like Uwabami and Mount Lady, who exist as characters solely to explore this theme and certain other themes that we're not going to talk about in a sponsored video. We can learn a lot about the commercialization of heroes from Kendo and Yaoyorozu's internship with Uwabami, starting here.
Additionally, heroes are allowed to have side jobs. There were a lot of arguments about this when the world of prose was first being established, but heroes ended up being so popular that the public demanded it. For example, I'm about to film a commercial. Stick around, okay?
Learning that heroes weren't allowed to have side jobs
small
and
pause. What was that StarCraft 2 sound effects?
I don't know. So
yeah, I could barely hear what the fuck they were saying.
Okay, so what we just established was that heroes are allowed to have side jobs. So, for instance, this character with the snake head, right, is an actor, technically, right? Commercials, right? That kind of thing. Filming commercials, using their popularity as a hero to sell products, right? So, where's the problem? I'm not
I think
quite
it's,
sure.
I think it's more of a attempt to make heroes realistic, but I don't think it's really a comment on capitalism.
I
in
mean,
this sense.
like, if you look at all heroes, they have a side. Like, Superman is a reporter. Spider-Man is a photographer. Right? Like, all
Spider-Man
heroes...
actively uses his power to get him money.
to make... Yeah, exactly. So, I'm not quite sure...
I get the
why
feeling
it's
that
specifically an issue in this. I don't get why it's specifically an issue for him in this particular medium when you can look at pretty much any superhero, like pretty much all of them.
I mean, beyond that, if he's trying to make a point that this show is trying to critique it or trying to, prop it up, whatever. From an outsider looking in, I've never heard anybody talk about this show talking about capitalism and the this seems like he's putting together one or two one-off comments and kind of running with a general theme.
Yeah, and it's like I'm going through like every superhero I can think of, and pretty much all of them at some point, either before or during becoming a hero, typically tend to have some kind of side job. And oh god, Ellie's mic's fucking squealing at me a little
Sorry.
bit. It was kind of weird. Yeah, I don't know what was going on there. It was like a metallic, like squealing noise. I don't know what was going on there, but it was not too loud, so it's probably fine. But anyway, so let's see what his point is.
Until the public demanded it, is where we see the capitalist spirit affecting heroism as a career in its purest form. The first line of a hero's job description in Hiro Aka's universe is not to be a crime fighter. It's to be a symbol, someone that people can look at and know that everything is going to be all right. This makes heroism something of a celebrity profession, one that focuses on giving off certain impressions and shaping public opinion. People have a tendency to latch on to their favorite personalities. It's why musicians and politicians and YouTubers can get so popular. And as such, it only makes sense that the public would want their favorite heroes to be at the forefront of their lives. Because of this public demand, doing advertisements and talk shows becomes part of the job for an aspiring hero, whether they want it to be or not. But this element of the job isn't just commercial.
Call out that he compared himself to the hero. He compared himself to the heroes of the show.
Yeah, and he needs to, like, he's going, oh, advertisements, Black Desert Online. Oh, look, I'm on a podcast with Mother's Basement. Oh, look at that connection there. It's, fucking god. It's more obnoxious than anything. Like,
that eraser style cutting out an image.
Yeah, he needs to fucking... God, magic wand. Dude.
Everything about his presentation is obnoxious. Like, it's kind of amazing.
Like, Paint.net is free. Just download Paint.net and use the tolerance magic wand tool. Like, come on, bro.
Fucking Jerry Freeman isn't as obnoxious at times, like visually at least. Like in terms of audio, this guy's less
Jerry at least, like, when he actually tries to get into the point. Like, he'll actually, like, cut off the fucking self-referential inserts and shit like what's happening right now.
It is kind of part of his style, though.
You know, God, it's just... I guess, but I just feel like it's not... I don't know.
His style's annoying.
Yeah, I'm not into it. Like, maybe someone else is into it, but I'm not into it. I'm not into this idea of, like...
I question the taste of anybody who's into it.
Yeah, I'm not into this, like, self-referentiating, constantly bringing up your own shit. Like, you know, like, come on.
I
want points,
the piling on of images and
I'm not into this either. Like, look at this collage he's got going on here. Like, you know, like,
it's not even clever or, like, you know, it doesn't even follow, like, a specific structure. He's just shoving shit on screen and slightly angling it.
Alright, let's keep going.
And opportunistic, it's also strategic, both from a personal standpoint and a societal one. It's one of the first things we hear in the series. Hiro Aka's society is one in which not all men are created equal, and the continuing existence of that society relies on those at the bottom being content with certain people being at the top. If the common citizen starts to get jealous or distrustful of heroes, then society as the world knows it threatens to collapse. We see the beginnings of this in the show's third season, season with the aftermath of the Hosu incident and All Might's retirement, and it's only natural. When some people have feet so hot they can melt buildings and you're just sitting here doing whatever this is, it makes sense that you would wonder what would happen if Endeavor turned evil. Heroes are larger than life. They are frightening, and if this show were a little less Hiroaka and a little more Worm, then I'm willing to bet we would already be seeing anti-hero protest groups and quirkless rights activists stirring up drama in the streets. It's like Shigaraki says at the end of the second season, if the handyman is standing behind you in line at the supermarket, the only thing keeping your head from being dust is the social contract that you're all implied to be following. And
Okay. I don't.
If you're expecting me anything or me to say anything, like again, I have no reference for this show. I can only critique things.
It's not even that. It's like I just don't get what he's going for here.
I think that's kind of the problem with how he does things visually. It's very disjointed and confusing, and because of that, when he's talking, it's hard to kind of piece together. It's kind of hard for the viewer to piece together what he's trying to talk about.
Yeah, I don't.
And I disagree with his statement that the social contract is the only thing that keeps somebody from killing somebody else.
I think that. Yeah, my problem I'm having here is that I just don't see what his point is. I don't see what he's trying to convey.
Ellie,
here.
what do
He's
you?
just.
Ellie.
I'll let Ellie go in a sec. But I just want to say, like, I just don't see. What was I going to say? I don't see where he's going. Like, he's just talking, and he's just saying things, but I don't get the road, right? I don't see what the end game is for this. But anyway, I'll let you go, Alec, and explain what you mean.
Well, I just wanted to say that I think it's a little bit short, cut off, hasty to just go immediately say social contract and that's it. Because there is harm to yourself if you kill somebody else. There's punishment, there's etc. Social contracts are more of it also. I think I see social contracts more of a little bit larger, as in also companies, let's say. If a company decides to, instead of paying its workers more, the company stop a lot more, that's allowed. But that goes against the whole social contract of if a company makes profit, the workers must share in that profit.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you get a communist uprising.
Yeah, because you should get paid fairly, ideally, right? And
yeah,
if you don't pay your workers fairly, then people will start to strike. People will start to demand more. People will start, and it goes down.
Yeah,
they'll just be poached by another company that's going to pay them better.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
So, but if there's some mindset growing where the companies, like this is what the problem with the capitalistic society of today is, where there's a general consensus amongst those big companies that the workers don't have to be paid more, they just have to work harder and not paid more. And the social contract in this case is then being broken, which is something completely different from somebody else standing behind you in a queue deciding to bash your head in.
Yeah, I can see what you're getting at with that.
Well, I mean, you still have, of course, individual cases of social contracts, like you don't shout at the police when for things or you don't shout all your frustration at the police every time one walks by. You don't spit on the shoes of the hospital workers because they block the roads when they load a patient in, etc.
Yeah.
You share your seat with the old lady, but bashing somebody's head in, that has real consequence beyond just the social ones.
It has consequences beyond, I guess, the social perception of you, I would say, would be where you're getting at. So, like, yeah, if you didn't give your seat up to the old lady in the bus, people will probably give you the stink eye. Whereas if you bash someone around the back of the head while in the shops, there's a few more consequences that happen because of that than just people giving you the stink eye.
Yeah, and of course, not giving your seat to the old lady is more of a, it's more of a thing about giving the weaker, people who are older, frailer, weaker, disabled in some way, giving them more space because they have it harder.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, you'll just make it extra harder when you are perfectly capable of being the same. So in that sense, the social contract is being broken.
Right. Alright, let's continue.
When a group like the League of Villains is actively trying to undermine that contract by shaking society's faith in heroes, everyone suffers as a result. That's why it's so important to keep heroes present and approachable in everyday life, and an easy way to do that is through advertisements and merchandising. That's where we get All Might action figures and Mount Lady flashlights. Seeing heroes only in their capacity...
I have a feeling that he was gonna make the fleshlight joke there, but he went with flashlight because of advertising. I have a sneaking suspicion that that's what he was going for fleshlight there.
Goals.
Yeah, but then he probably was like,
look,
on a sponsored video, I probably shouldn't do that. And so he went with flash. Because let's be real, I think most people get the subliminal fucking messaging he's putting through there with that one. So I just wanted to,
it's kind of
I just wanted to point that out because it was like it triggered in my brain.
A bit too edgy of a joke, trying to be funny.
Probably
too much for me.
Probably, but yeah, I picked up on that. So let's keep going.
As heroes risks breeding jealousy and fear. It makes people ask, what happens if the guy with a gun for a head turns that gun toward me? And why can't I have a gun for a head? These questions pose an existential threat to a society that requires absolute faith in the hero class. By providing the public with fourth kind coat racks and Death Arms toilet seat covers, heroes are turned into an accessory for the modern home, something that's interacted with every day on a personal level. Instead of just seeing All Might skipping out of a burning school bus while bench pressing 100 people twice your size, you can flip on the TV and see him on a talk show sharing some embarrassing anecdote from middle school. If your quirk sucks and you want to be as cool as Backdraft the Rescue Hero, then you can live vicariously through the Backdraft themed deck that you built in the trading card game. And if you ever want to have a gun for a head, you can log on to Black Desert.
I think he's ignoring this stupid promotion thing. I think he's taking this his own world building and going beyond the show and the manga.
Yeah, I think he's projecting his own perceptions rather than looking at what it actually is. He's imposing his own.
I mean, there is
views.
you could take the logical conclusion of some things, but I don't think it really fits.
Yeah, having because I'm one of the people in here that's actually watched Akka up to the current point in the anime, right? And I have to say that it's not the stuff that he's going on about here is not really something the show really hyper addresses that much at all. It's just
it's almost like this is a show meant for 13-year-old Japanese kids.
It's almost like it is. It's almost.
Look, you have to understand. You have to understand. I need to make a 20-minute video on why Adventure Time is the deepest thing since The Lord of the Rings. Okay, you don't understand. Everything is deep.
Yeah, it can never just. It's just not deep, bro. Doesn't exist. It's just not that.
Well, everything can be interesting if you're good enough, but I don't think he's good enough.
Your mic's fucking up again. You might need to tap it a few times. Holy shit!
Ooh.
There we go. Oh,
what the hell is up with your end of the recording today?
I don't know. At least,
I think it could be connection issues with Discord. It might not.
Yeah, because I don't really see much of audio on my line.
Yeah, I think it's Discord, so don't worry about it. It's just like fuck. But anyway, let's hear another promotion for Black Desert Online because shoehorning it.
We better get paid for this.
He better have gotten paid good money for this. But anyway, let's continue.
Online, make yourself a matchlock rifle and put it on your head. The sky's the limit. Literally, Black Desert. In this way, hero merch is much more than just a soulless ploy to make money off the goodwill of others. It's a means of making an inherently unequal society feel more close-knit and holistic. Which is where we get to the hero killer Stain and the very serious threat that his ideals pose to Hero Aka's world. There are two aspects of Stain's teaching that make him particularly dangerous to hero society. First is the direct attack on the idea of the hero, casting doubt on the honor of any individual who dares to make money from saving others. Second is his indirect ideological attack on the capitalist system, which he views as a corrupter of otherwise good-natured people. Since this video has a hard deadline for release, and going into the details of Stain's infectious ideology would be no small tangent in a video that's supposed to be about money, I'll keep that discussion in my back pocket for another video. His ideas about the capitalist...
See, Stain is... Okay, I'll let you go. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you go ahead. Explain Stain's ideology.
Okay, so... Fuck. Stain's arc was fucking years ago, so give me a minute. Stain's whole thing is that he believes that the current heroes are not true heroes, right? He believes that because they make money, because they do the capitalist thing, because they're not in it for the soulless, selfless reason of just saving people without the need for monetary gain, he believes that they need to be wiped out. And he views them as a virus, right? As a disgust. So that's why he is the hero killer. He kills heroes because he believes them to not be I'm trying to like, again, I'm like dragging shit out of my brain from ages ago. He kills them because he views it as like a disease that is corrupting the world in a sense, right? I can see where he's getting the interpretation of he's anti-capitalist because blah, 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 blah. However, in the show itself, it's never explicitly said that it's anti-capitalist. It's more along the lines of that he believes that the heroes doing it to make money are not true heroes. And he views a true hero as someone that does things selflessly. And he believes All Might to be an actual personification of that, which is why he says that the only hero that he would allow to beat him, like kill him, would be All Might, or someone that's like All Might, right? And it's shown that Stain is not actually necessarily, like, villainous in a sense, because he actually saves Deku before he gets captured, and it's shown that he actually does have a level of heroism within him, and I think it's that he has a warped perception. I can agree with the thesis that his ideology is detrimental to the status quo of the society, because obviously, as this guy pointed out, the society is built on the idea of heroes being a symbol, and if you remove that, right, or you try and make it so that heroes are no longer no longer seen in a good light, then it will cause problems. And that's actually gone into after his arc, where videos of his final speech go out and it inspires people to mimic him, and it becomes a sort of ideology type thing where it spreads. So I think in a sense he's kind of half right. It's just the focus on capitalism is the problem. I think it's more about values and morals rather than like pure, like it could, like wealth type stuff. And again, I'm probably speaking out of my ass. I'd have to rewatch the arc again to properly like compartmentalize what it's about. But that's just kind of what I remember, was that it was more about what does it mean to be a hero. Heroes are not being heroes for the correct reasons in his view, therefore they must be eliminated, because he believes that it's something like that. So
yeah,
it's something along those lines. He's actually a very interesting character, and I'd actually like to see more of him later on in the show. I think there should be it's a very interesting juxtaposition between him and the current like hero status quo, and I think it would be a good learning experience for Deku to interact with him a bit more. So I would like to see him return at some point because he's actually it's a very interesting character.
I mean, he's good. He's a good. I haven't, from what I read, I didn't get to him. But he sounds really like a good counter argument.
Yeah, he is.
The only thing is, of course, it's kind of a purity test at that point. But this is talking about, of course, his characters and the logical conclusion of his actions.
Yeah. It is a little bit like that. Again, I'd have to rewatch or read the arc again to kind of get it, because I'm probably like butchering it completely, and people that actually people that are more into Hero Arca will probably be able to like fill in the blanks, right? But from my perception of it, it is definitely more of an like ideals type thing, where his ideals are more heroes should be like this. They should be selfless. They should be doing it for the sake of doing it. They shouldn't be doing it for monetary gain. They shouldn't be doing it for fame or glory or any of that. And if they do it for those things, they're not true heroes, and therefore must be
therefore
eliminated.
they must die.
And therefore they must be eliminated, right? Yeah, it's a bit edgy like that, but I think that's part of his whole thing, is that he's an edgy boy. So yeah. Let's continue.
System upon which Hiroaka's society runs, however, are so juicy. Let's break it down. Stain epitomizes the idea of self-sacrifice, and he believes that any hero who receives payment for their services is a soulless corporate shill who deserves to be cut down. As much as I hate to do so, let's channel our inner Immanuel Kant here and see what would happen if this idea became widely accepted by society, which, as we can see in the second and third seasons, isn't a far-fetched thing to consider. First, if we assume that the public accepts Stain's criteria letter for letter, only two heroes remain legitimate: All Might's apprentice, and for some reason, All Might himself. Every other capitalist dog is a subject of suspicion. Backdraft will save you from a burning building, but will he throw you right back in if he's not getting paid for it? Will power loaders stop preventing that earthquake with strategically placed seismic waves if he learns that his dental benefits are getting cut? We've already talked about how Hiroaka's society requires the common citizen to have absolute faith in heroes. And Stain's ideology inherently implies that heroes are not deserving of that faith. Suppose that in response to this, the public consensus became that hero work should be strictly on a volunteer basis, just so they could be sure that the motives of those protecting them were pure. This is a terrible idea. Regardless of whether or not it is a noble motivator, money is an effective motivator. Without the wealth and glory that comes from hero work, I can't imagine many right-minded young adults running into war zones and villain attacks to save a bunch of strangers. Without the...
Alright, I want to pause here. I'll let you go first.
I don't think you got conscription in countries, mandatory conscription at a certain age. There you get the point, of course, is you gain some loyalty for your country. You're mandatory to get called into the army, to be in the fighting force. Yeah. Some little skills. I know Germany has some near mandatory or mandatory.
Korea.
Social
work. Outside of that, people have during wartime voluntarily signed up for the military as a form of national duty without being compelled and without being promised significant monetary compensation for it.
So yeah, I think this argument that money...
What he's trying to say is that he'd never run into a building to save a child from a fire if he wasn't going to be paid afterward. That's what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
So,
which is weird.
So I will say that, just to carry on from the Stain point, to cap that off, I will say that his assessment of Stain is pretty much correct. I think he's not wrong about that. Like the way that he explained it, it was a bit better than how I explained it. So I will give him that section is pretty good. I just think that the conclusion is starting to get a bit iff.
Yeah, because yes, you would have less heroes when there's no monetary gain for it. But I think it's quite off, missing the point when, even outside of the show, when you say, so we have to give money, we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
We have to have this capitalist society, we don't have a choice. Well, I don't think the alternatives have been explored. I don't think there has been a discussion in this show, at least, about the harms that this current system may have and what other systems may have other benefits. Not that Stain is correct, because killing every hero that doesn't conform to your ideology is a bad idea.
It is.
But this conclusion goes into this conclusion is steering into the we need money, we don't have a choice, and I don't think that necessarily is a conclusion.
It's a very similar argument to an argument I see a lot when it comes to universal healthcare and paying doctors, where it's the argument, because there's two sides. There's the argument of, well, if you don't actually pay doctors, then obviously there's not going to be a lot of doctors, because a lot of doctors do it because the pay is, like, you know, doctors get paid a shitload of money because of the amount of time investment, study, all of that shit that you have to, like, you have to go to medical school, you have to spend a lot of money to go to medical school, so being
in America and other systems like
that. Well, yeah, but I'm not talking. I mean, in all systems, you have to go to medical school and you have to spend a shitload of money and go into debt to go to medical, right? Like, let's be real.
If you have a education system that works like that, otherwise,
well, most countries have an education system where you need to pay for education, Elliot. It's not fucking free to just go to medical. You can't, like, name me a country where it's free to go to medical school. Well, you get paid to go to medical school because the taxpayer will pay for your fees to go to medical school.
That's not the point, anyways.
No,
and that's not the point, anyways.
Stuff. It's public.
I highly
in
doubt.
The Netherlands,
I highly doubt that higher education, like free higher education for medical shit exists. I'm doubtful of that.
I mean, the books are ridiculously expensive, but that isn't the education that makes you get into that.
I don't know about that.
It's like 2,000 euros a year, and you do your education.
I don't know about that, man. I'm not sure about that. But
just pay your college money, 2,000, and you're done.
I don't know. But as I was saying, like, the idea of, you know, oh well, all of this stuff. So it brings into the idea of, like, what if the heroes were, you know, it paid for by taxpayer money, like higher taxes. I don't know. I think they're completely derailed me there a little bit.
Just going slightly more off topic than before. I think if heroes have this amount of power, they should probably be regulated in some way.
Oh, they are, and they are.
They should have some compulsorily.
They are very regulated. Okay, so the way that the regulations work is they are not allowed to practice hero work unless they are on the clock. They are not, like, people are not actually allowed to use their quirks. Like, you can't have vigilantes that are unregistered heroes, right? Like, you have to be registered and have a license. You have to, like, there's a lot of regulations involving hero work specifically to stop the kind of stuff you're talking about, right? Like, you have to.
Right.
There are a lot of rules and regulations, like, and that actually comes up in the Stain arc, because when they actually fought Stain, they were going against because they were supposed to be doing something else. They were supposed to be helping the civilians or doing something different, but instead they were off fighting Stain, which was a different thing. It was like, and they do, like, it is made perfectly clear that what they did was very, very wrong. And they should not do that kind of thing again, where they go off on their own without, like, proper, like, shit.
Yeah, more system against the problems of the system.
Yeah, and actually thinking about that, that's another thing that Stain gets into, is the idea that, like, you can't, like, the idea of, like, selflessly helping people, right? Like, like, it's something that the system frowns upon and actively has rules against, right? So it's, and I think later on there's a character that like they show what happens if like there was a character that's not a hero that tries to use unregistered use of their quirk to try and save someone and ends up getting in the way and causing more damage, and that they have to pay for because of the legal ramifications of that. So there is a bit more.
But it's fine if a registered hero does the same damage. Then it's fine.
Well, you would assume that the no, because it was he interfered with a registered hero trying to do the same thing, right? So the registered hero was going to save the person anyway, but this person used their quirk.
No. My question is if a registered hero causes more damage by intervening than if he didn't intervene.
I'm not sure about that.
I mean,
that's something I'm not sure has been covered, but I think that like. The situation is very specific, right? It's very like because that's a more like generalized like who does more damage, right? Like there are probably cases where unregistered people would save someone and it would probably have gone down perfectly fine, except for the fact that they broke the law. But in this particular instance, it was a case where it was detrimental to the act of saving the person.
Yeah, that story reads to me like really we need the system. And I think a moment where a registered hero causes more damage than a unregistered hero would be a nice maybe if one of the evil ones did that and they show from what you were doing would have caused the roof to collapse and killed all these 10 people.
And again, I've only seen up to the anime. I don't know if any of that happens in the manga. It's possible. So, and I know a few things that happen in the manga, but I'm not aware of anything like that. But we're getting a little bit off the video's track. But so let's continue and see where he's going with this.
Extra push in that direction that comes with the promise of adequate compensation, most people just aren't going to be willing to accept the dangers that come from fighting villains in natural disasters. In a world where heroes only exist but for the goodness of a handful of individuals, you had better hope that each of those charity heroes is worth 6 All Mights. Because if they're not, then the sudden influx of unopposed villainy is probably going to make any question of how to fix society moot, considering there will be no society to fix. But let's throw psychology out the window and assume that isn't true, and that somehow you can remove payment from the equation and be left with the same number of truly devoted, selfless heroes willing to fight crime and keep people safe. After work, or on their day off. One thing that I don't see brought up enough with regard to Stain is the idea that if heroes didn't get paid for their hero work, they would have to get paid doing something else. The need for currency doesn't stop just because you decide that helping people for pay is kinda squicky. Making heroism into a career allows would-be heroes to devote their waking hours to the pursuit of justice, instead of pursuing justice part-time after working a double shift at the KFC when you've been standing battering chicken all day getting yelled at by your underpaid and perpetually overstressed manager, and yeah, sure, there's a fight across town.
Let's pause. This is a lot of talk for just a simple point.
Yeah, I know, yeah, but he's getting a bit long-winded.
That's just kind of his entire thing. He rambles on way too fucking much.
Yeah, he's getting a bit out on the sticks. He's getting a bit too far, because I can see the point he's trying to make, and I don't necessarily have a problem with it. It's just, he's taking way too long. You could have cut this down and made a way simpler point in way less time. Because I mean, his general point is not unsolid. It's just, it's too many.
Takes too long.
Too many words. You got to get those ad revenue bucks. Got to push it to 10, 16 minutes.
That image quota.
Yeah, got to get that image quota. But it's interesting that he uses Saitama, because One Punch Man's world is actually something very similar, where you have the idea of heroes as a career and that kind of thing, and he's doing it as like a hobby for fun and doesn't particularly care a whole lot about the
money,
the money and the fame and all of that stuff. He's in it more for the joy of doing it, which is interesting because in season 2 it actually kind of goes into the fact that it's getting boring for him and there's other things that kind of show up, and it's despite the animation issues, season 2 was boring.
It was boring in the first season for him too.
Yeah, because he just kills everything in one punch. But it goes more into it in season 2. It's actually very interesting. There's a lot of really... Like, One Punch Man is a very interesting show, but that's getting off topic. I feel like, yeah, he's not making a unsolid point. His point is solid. It's just that he's taking too long. He needs to cut this down. He could have made this point, like, in a minute, rather than rambling like this. So.
Let's see if it will take another minute.
Yeah, let's continue.
Should really go check it out, but you've got a grease burn all down your left arm, and you're not sure workers' comp is going to cover it, and your costume reeks of 11 herbs and spices. Making heroism part of the capitalist system isn't just a perk for people willing to dispense justice where it's needed, it is a necessary component of any hero-dependent society. Not paying...
I disagree with being paid makes it automatically a capitalistic system. Just being paid for work what you do is not necessarily immediately capitalistic.
Alright, since you're the expert on this one...
I know I'm not.
Yeah, I know. I know you're not. Well, you're more of an expert than the both of us, so you go.
Well, I think I said something like this in the last time, where capitalistic is more of a... what did I say? Capitalistic benefits more the investors and and that kind of stuff. Well, stuff like communism is more focused on more locally, and not necessarily always more local. You can have international business in communism, but is more to the benefit of the workers.
Capitalism is more focused about, rather than just sustained pay. It's more focused on sustained growth using capital.
Yeah, you're right. It's more if a company does well, then it should be for the benefit of the investors, so the investors can give more to the company, so the company can get more money to the investors, etc. Well,
I mean, it doesn't even really have anything to do with investors per se. You can have a capitalist system without investors. It's just there has to be more sustained growth, and there has to be a society-wide focus on both trade and sustained growth in order for it to be a capitalist system. I mean, nobody's going back to say, let's say the Middle Ages or whatever in Europe, and saying that somebody being paid, or somebody being paid for, like, you know, doing town watch or whatever is going to be that's not really capitalism just because they're paid. Like, that cuts out a lot of the finer details.
Yeah, what I really meant with the investor thing was so that the investor could get more money in the growth of the company, etc. And that was what I want.
Well, I mean, not all companies have shareholders or investors. That's only if you take it public.
But that is really a trait of capitalism: is shareholders, investors, etc. All for the good money of getting more money back later.
So you got to spend money to make money. Classic saying.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And the point really is, like Lolly said, just getting paid doesn't make it capitalistic.
Yeah, there's more to it. So let's keep going.
Heroes for Hero work cripples both the availability and the effectiveness of would-be crime fighters, since they would have to spend their time and energy caught in the cogs of a capitalist machine that demands their attention just to survive. And that's probably enough video to make my case, but there's one more thing that I want to make clear before I go back to doing whatever I was doing before.
I don't... What was your case? What was, like, the video's titled "The Individual and the Collective in My Hero Academia"? What was the case? What was the point?
Well, there was like a little thesis at the beginning that wasn't really.
He hasn't really gone into that.
No.
He hasn't really, like, made it.
It's a lot of noise, but he hasn't tied up to a larger point.
No, he hasn't. It's very.
It has more of a general thesis that it sticks to than the Senko-san video we watched, in which case the person didn't actually connect dots, as it were. This guy's at least connecting dots.
He's connecting dots, but the dots are not forming a circle, they're just forming a line. It's like there's not really or maybe because a line has an end point. Like it's again, I don't see what he's trying to actually convey in this video. Like, is he trying to make the point that Hiro Aka is talking about these things, or is he trying to make the point that Hiro Aka is in support of capitalism, against capitalism? Is it, like, what was the actual reason this video exists, is what
I think it's more of a showing that it exists, but like we did all video, we disagree with the point, with the interpretation of it, and therefore doubt that it exists.
Yeah, it's... So
and
yeah,
I didn't hear any really individual versus collective conflict discussion.
Not particularly, no, because there is like the arguments to be had about like, individual versus the collective, like the hero versus, a collective of villainy. Like there's, it's, I don't know. Let's see where he's gonna, what his final point is.
I started recording this. While the capitalist system does provide substantial benefits for Hiro Aka's society, the fact that it is beneficial is not inherent to the system, nor is it guaranteed to be the case. Capitalism is a hungry animal, and it will purr and lick and rub its fur on anything that feeds it. It doesn't care about morality, ideology, or the survival of civilization. Its only concern is what it can do right now to maximize its own profits, even when that action would destroy the very systems that allow it to flourish. If kids love heroes and hero merch keeps selling, then the beast will wag its tail and show its belly and keep slapping All Might's face on whatever mass-produced garbage it can get the rights for. But the second that heroes lose their edge, as soon as the tide of public opinion turns, it will growl and bark and bite and run toward anything else that smells of gold and opportunity. The capitalist monster will reject no master, and just as we see in Hiro Aka, the values it so valiantly defends one day will be its meal the next.
So, I completely disagree that capitalism can be personified in this way and that it would just serve the interests of evil.
It's more
in the way portrayed.
Yeah, in the way portrayed, I think it's more neutral. I don't think it's like this idea of like one good and evil, right? It's not like capitalism is. I mean, it's weird because he's not technically wrong in the idea, right? He's got like the nugget of a good point here, but
yeah, capitalism wants maximum growth.
Because we talked about that like literally a minute or two ago, like the idea that capitalism is about growth and it prioritizes the idea of.
That's what makes it an efficient system, because it's not cut down in red tape in theory or
it's about
discussions of morality. That's something that's more for governments or for nonprofits. Like that's the benefit of that thing.
But I would argue like the idea of like the polarized black and white, right? It's either good or it's evil, and it will switch based on the way the wind's blowing. I think that's completely incorrect. I think that you can have both at the same time, and that it's a much more neutral. Like the thing is it's not polar. It's just neutral. It'll suit.
He hasn't really shown any speeches or any character moments in which this is ever brought up in the show. Like he just kind of makes conjecture based off of one or two things.
Well, he showed one moment, and
he showed it. He showed what I would have liked is he should have shown, like when he was explaining Stain's ideology, he should have just played Stain's fucking speech, like because that would have been a much better way of doing it.
Or if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to risk getting demonetized or something, you could say
you could read it out.
You could have a transcript up on the screen or something that shows the part.
And explain it. But
I mean, he had a deadline. You have to be fair to him.
But I feel like I agree with Elliot that I don't agree with how he's presenting it, but I don't necessarily think it's like it's not incorrect. It's just the framing's wrong.
Well, I think it's framed in such an extreme way that it basically is incorrect.
Yeah, it's the framing that makes it. But that's what I mean. It's the framing that makes it incorrect, not necessarily the core of the idea, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, capitalism only cares about growth. Growth in profits and growing your company isn't always good for the company itself, for the planet, for whatever,
the moral
universe
arguments
existence.
and such.
But how, if capitalism isn't fed by buying merchandise, capitalism will go to the evil, and if the evil will serve the hand of All Might, the capitalist. What is this analogy about?
What is the replacement for what are they going to start making bad guy merch? Like that's kind of where I'm thinking. Like, you know, if
and how what is the head? The head that is being fed. What does it represent?
I'm not sure myself. I think he could have done a better job.
Yeah, that's the issue. This analogy without tying it to something we should know. It should mean something, but we don't know what it means. Because we don't know what
let's
the thing
let's see
means,
if he
it's
can
kind of
shove one
pointless.
more Black Desert promo in before the end.
It spits out new toys for the thoughtless public to consume. And so, where once the shelves were lined with All Might headbands and
Toys.
Vlad King novelty dentures, a new product is on display. The Hero Killer Stain Action Kit, complete with mask, scabbard, and kunai knives. Replica sword with each purchase, scarf sold separately.
How is this different?
Today's lucky patron is Gavin! Nope, Gavin's already done it. Pick someone else. Zarista66, a relatively new patron at the $15 tier, which I guess means we should reset the Minecraft server pretty soon. Sorry about that. I'll put out a call about it on Discord. If you want to become a cog in my capitalist machine...
You can pause
I think we're done now.
How is one
annoying.
toy different from being another toy in this analogy?
And also, how can you not just have both? Again, I believe it's more neutral. Like, you could have both hero toys and villain toys at the same time. Like, wouldn't that actually be more capitalistic to play both sides of the fence?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, like, it would be more capitalistic to be let's say for the example of fixing this analogy, we are a toy manufacturing company, and we manufacture toys based off popular heroes and characters. All of a sudden, we have this new character come in called Stain, who is this bad guy who has these morals, but people online seem to like him. There's a lot of talk about him. He's very popular. Why not put out like some Stain merchandise?
And you could do some. You could even market it to kids from who do you on whose sides are you?
Or not even that. Like, we see this in real life where you will have villain toys based off the villains, and people will buy both the hero and the villain so they can play with both at the same time, right? Like the villain fighting the hero. Like, it's not. Again, that's more capitalistic than the idea of it being binary and one versus the other. It would be if you were in the capitalist system, you would play both sides of the fence, because that would maximize your growth, to be able to play both. Oh, Ellie, you. Up. We're losing Ellie. Ellie's been taken over by the capitalist system. No.
Well, the capitalist robot has devoured him.
The capitalist robot has taken over. Oh no! Oh god! He's trying to speak to us in binary.
Somebody get the tech priest in.
We have to do the prayers to the machine god. Oh, are you back? Speaking in fucking Morse code. Yeah, okay, well, we'll end it here. I'll